Time for another review and another mad release. This one's actually a re-release of a game originally published by Activision in 1984. The game is called Countdown to Meltdown, although it was originally called Countdown to Shutdown. So let's take a look at the cover of this game. As you can see, you've got Countdown to Meltdown written on the front there, although it's very difficult to make out the bit where it says Countdown to. Chosen a green font on a grey background. And quite a nice bit of artwork on this one. Reminds me a little bit of Impossible Mission actually. There's a guy with some big sunglasses on or a helmet, and he's being chased by a robot on the other part of the picture there. And there's the spine. And on the back we've got some screenshots. Most of which just seem to be a big grey room. And then we've got some blurb about the game. A serious explosion at the Brands Point nuclear power plant has occurred on one of the lower levels, etc, etc. Basically, it looks like you've got to escape. You've got to try and avert a major catastrophe and basically try and stop a nuclear explosion. There's some more screenshots there. There is one there that looks a little bit different in that there's a guy standing in front of a lift. Here we have the instructions, and the aim of the game, as already mentioned when looking at the back cover, is that you've got to basically try and avert a major meltdown of a nuclear reactor. You have a team of android commandos, and there's some kind of security defense system which is going to stop you from doing the job you're trying to do, I think, or something. 2,000 rooms spread over 8 levels. This is a mammoth task. That doesn't sound very encouraging. We've got the loading instructions there at the bottom, and inside details about the controls. And you can also load a previously saved game. I won't be doing that. And there's some more controls there, key controls, lots of them. Pace, switches between north and south video cameras, select commandos, examine contents of a room. Blimey, this looks like quite a convoluted game. And as mentioned, you can save the game. And it's also got more about the controls, lots and lots and lots of controls. And that's it for the packaging. Here's the loading screen for the game. As you can see, it's got the Mastertronic Added Dimension MAD logo on there. Also mentions that it was licensed from CDS, which I think was a company that was actually published by Activision. And as you can see, it's got similar artwork to the front cover. Our chap's now got a blue hat on instead of a red hat, but he's still being chased by a robot. Here we have the title screen then, which I would assume has been thrown on by Mastertronic as a sort of last minute thing. It doesn't look very good, it's very difficult to read, especially the bottom line there. But the most obvious thing you can see is that the game is called Countdown to Meltdown when it loads. And at the top there it says Mastertronics present Countdown to Meltdown by Gary York. Not much more to say about the title screen. There's a very small picture of what I presume is a nuclear power plant there. Otherwise, nothing much to write home about. So let's press spacebar to continue. We're presented with a very bright screen with 2 different types of game option, or the option to load a game from cassette. And I'm going to be going for a standard game. The difference between the two is that in a standard game, all the rooms are laid out the same way every time. In a tournament game, God knows why it's called a tournament game, but the room layout is different each time, so it's a bit more of a random factor, which is good, does add to the replayability of the game. Not that I'll be replaying it after this review, I suspect. So let's go with a standard game. Then you get a list of all the keyboard controls. There are quite a lot of them. It does seem quite daunting when you first start the game, but actually once you get going it's not too bad. So there's lots of keyboard controls there, some of which I'll forget, but they are all written on the inlay. So spacebar again, and basically you've got to choose from one of 8 different commandos, and you do that by moving the joystick up and down. As you can see, the stats are different for each one. It's kind of a squad management strategy game to a certain extent, combined with a flick screen adventure game, as you'll see momentarily. So you pick a commando that you think is most suited to the task you want to achieve, and once you choose which one you want, let's just go with a middle of the road sort of guy to start with. You can see things like medical and technical, they obviously aid or abet you with things like opening doors or healing other commandos and things like that. Strength and mobility also have an impact on how fast your guy moves and how good he is with combat, as well as detailed by the combat one on the bottom left there. Each player is equipped with a laser pistol to start with, so you can shoot baddies. Why there's baddies in a power plant, I'm not entirely sure, but there you go. So off we go. Chose Commando number 3 to start with. Press space and the game begins. And you can probably hear in the background a kind of a humming noise. That's obviously because you're in a nuclear power plant. There's lots of information on the bottom of the screen there. Core temperature, radiation level, time elapsed so far, which commando you've chosen, what his shields are. That's shields against radiation, which as you get closer to the core, your shield level starts to go down. You've got pace there, which is the speed he moves at. As you can see, he's moving at a really kind of average sort of pace at the moment. You press P again, he goes to normal, starts to go a little bit faster. You press P again and he moves a bit faster still. That's reckless pace. We'll just stick with normal for the time being. You've got which way you're facing, which exits you've got, which are east and up. Up being an elevator, that's the thing there, and east being that one there, unsurprisingly. And also you've got what level you're on, that's what level of the power plant. You're on level 1 and you need to go down to level 8, I think it is, to do any kind of fixing to the core. What you can do is press R, which flips the screen round, so if there's exits at the bottom of the screen, from that perspective, you'd see them by pressing R. We'll just leave it like that for the moment. What you can't tell when you're looking at this screen is that there is actually an object in the room. There's actually an object, it seems, in virtually every single room, but you don't actually see them on the graphical display. But if I press E to examine, oh, there's actually nothing there, ironically. Let's move to the next screen, hopefully. So this is a bad thing. It's like some black glob. So if you shoot at that, hopefully I'll be able to shoot it eventually. There we go, got it. There's also the noise of some like mainframes or something which are at the back of the room. This is about as exciting graphically as the game gets. There's lots of three-dimensional representations of rooms with not much in them, basically, in a big grey floor. So let's have a look in this room. There we go. I found a damper field too, so you can either take it or press the space bar to not take it. I'll take it. That then updates your commando's inventory. As you can see, he's now got a damper field 2, whatever that means. And later on I'll show you how to use those kind of things. So what you can also do, and what I found is quite useful, so I've got my one guy here. Let's just move him into the next room, which you do by pushing these buttons on the side when the doors are closed. So there's another room, and you can go up and so on. If I examine in there, there's a Technikit, which has some purpose. We'll come to that later. But I think as this is a squad based game, the best thing I can do is get another guy along to help me. You do that by pressing S, select another commando. If he's already out in the playing area somewhere, then obviously it switches to him, but if he's still not been deployed yet, then I can go and start the game with him and go and move him to the guy that's already out there. So let's try and find a guy who's reasonably good. They've all got their sort of strengths and weaknesses. I think maybe a guy who's particularly good at combat would be a good idea. This guy's combat level is 96. He seems like the guy for me. So as you can see, he materialises in the same place. He's not as fast a walker, so we'll just put his pace up to reckless, so he moves a bit quicker. I hardly think there's a reckless level of movement anyway. So there you go, now you can see my two guys together and I can move them around the playing area to achieve whatever goals I need to achieve. So let's start by taking this guy over to the right. You can also transfer items between players, or commandos I should say. Let's see what we've got in here. Medikit, sounds like it could be useful, obviously. And up again, completely empty room. This is, as I said, about as exciting as a lot of these rooms get, but there is a rad shield. Rad shield comes in useful when you're further down into the complex and you need to shield yourself against radiation, funnily enough. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And what I'm going to do is wander around and try and progress a little bit further in the game and show off anything that's interesting. I've had one playthrough of this previously and played it for about half an hour and still had 4 commandos operative. So it seems like it's a rather long-winded kind of a game, and not necessarily the sort of thing you want to see me move from room to room and explore. So when I find something interesting, I'll restart the tape, and until then I shall just play along and see what happens. Here I am in a storeroom of some description. So as I go through here, you'll see there are other kinds of enemies around. These guys, I assume, are some kind of radiation possessed factory workers. Sometimes they'll run up to you and do you damage, or other times they'll walk away from you. On this occasion, this guy looks like, actually now he's interested in me and he's chasing me around, so it's probably time to shoot him. Off you go, matey. Here we have a door that you can't open at the moment. You need someone with good technical skill to open that, ideally. So if I have a look at my stats at the moment, my technical skill's not that great. Let's see what happens if I can switch to my other guy, which I think was number 3. Yep. His technical skills aren't much better either, to be fair, but let's go and try and get him to open that door. So just move up to the same room. You can also see an elevator in this room, which is ultimately where I'm going to go to, although there does seem to be a room to the south as well, so let's just check. Oh, right, okay. This is where switching the perspective will be useful as well. One thing at a time though. First thing is this guy, if you walk up to the door and press T for technical skill a few times, hopefully he'll fix the door. It's not looking good though. Let's try it on the other door to the south. So if I reverse the view there, you can see there's another door there. Let's see if I can fix that one instead. Not really. What I need is a guy with some technical abilities. I'll deploy a third commando with some good technical skill. This guy looks good. Look, number 2's got 96. Let's deploy him and take him to the same place as the others. Well, something interesting has happened here, because my Commando 2 that I deployed is currently in this room here, which is the room adjacent to the one with the other 2 guys in, but suddenly this door, which I went through earlier, is no longer accessible, and I can't use his technical skills to unlock the doors either, which is a bit of a surprise given how good he is. But no matter how many times I press that, it's not opening that door. Not really sure what's going on there. So let's switch back to Commando number 3. He has got a Technikit, so maybe we can try and use that to open a door, and this one will be the most obvious one to open now. So if you press U, you get to use an item. 3 would be the Technikit. It tells you what it does. The Technikit will raise your technical skill to assist with repairs to any damaged equipment. It will not raise your skill above 99, so you press U to use it. And now if I look at my stats, I've now got technical of 56. Somehow I don't think that's going to be enough still. Yeah, I'm a bit stuck here at the moment. Maybe all will become clear later. Let's go up in the lift in the meantime. As you can see, nice little animation there. You get a slightly different screen of your guy going up in a lift, and I've materialised on the floor above. Let's now try switching back to one of my others. I'm wondering if you can only have a certain number of commandos in a certain place at a certain time, or something along those lines, so let's give it a go. It's not looking good. Blimey. Ah! Fixed it. I just realised what I was doing during that. I was pressing the wrong button. I was pressing T to try and open the door, and it's actually F for fixing the door. So that was a bit of an unfortunate cock up. Let's move on. That's interesting. How come that's still really open? Strange things going on. Okay, so let's try now and open these other ones after that rather disastrous bit of work. Okay, that's another one done. This guy's shooting is terrible. Blimey, it is rather difficult to fix some of these doors. I'm kind of getting bored now. Okay, that's another one fixed. And more doors, more rooms. Oh. Well, I've been walking around with my Commando number 2 for a while now, having finally got through all those locked doors, and I must admit, I got totally lost here. I don't know where I need to go to get back to the elevator room where the other guy is. There's lots of very similar looking rooms as expected, lots of things to try and pick up. Laser pistol, haven't I already got one of those? Let's take one anyway, why not? So yeah, I'm just trying to work my way around this first floor to try and find that elevator room again, and I've totally got lost. So I'm just going to switch back to my other Commando and go up the elevator to my third Commando that's out and about. He's already on level 2. Must be level Commando number 4 I want then. There he is. So let's call the elevator. Go up in the elevator. I think it's fair to say this is the kind of game where you really need to draw a map, because every room looks the same. There's no obvious landmarks. It's kind of pretty confusing, to say the least. I don't know what's wrong with this guy now. He's wobbling around all over the place. His mobility's gone all the way down to 12 for some reason. Maybe it's because I've been running around at reckless speed for too long or something. So I'll continue to investigate and see what else I can find. But I think it's fair to say it's quite a nice game. What I'm not sure about is how long I can stick it out, because at the moment it's kind of boring. It's nicely put together. Animation and graphics. Animation of the little guys running around is quite cool. Graphics are pretty decent overall, apart from the boring rooms, and there looks like to be plenty to do. It's quite a big adventure, but how long I can stick it out remains to be seen. So I'll plod along for a bit longer and see how I get on. Oh, look at this guy, this kind of big octopus thing. It dawned on me that my guy that I've got here, Commando number 3, has got really good medical skills and a couple of medikits. Meanwhile, Commando number 4 is looking a bit knackered. So I'm going to try and use one of these medikits. Let's try medikit 2. Don't know what the difference between medikit 2 and 1 is. So medikit will repair a certain amount of damage, blah blah blah, if that commando is present, which he is. And it's dependent on your medical skill and the value of the unit used. So if we press the number of the commando I want to repair, 4, and then switch back to him, look, his strength and mobility's gone up a bit. Useful. So it is quite a clever game. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of controls to get to grips with, and there's a lot of wandering around very bland looking rooms to be done. Oh, I found power armor in this room. That can only be useful. I'm just going to use that straight away. Not quite sure what it's going to do, but let's find out. Power armor will protect you from attacks by androids or plasma. They'll remain effective for a time dependent on your power. Why not? Let's just use them. Probably regret that later, but I'm not quite really sure how much further I'm going to go through the game. Through this door is something new. It's a big hole, which if I fall down it, I'll presumably get further into the complex, but I'm not sure falling down it would be the most advisable thing to do. Oh, it seems I've fallen through the hole anyway. Some bad collision detection there. Fallen through 2 levels in fact, so I'm now on level 4. Unfortunately I'm now walking around like an idiot because all my abilities have got knackered. My strength and mobility have gone down to 5. So kind of dancing around, not being able to walk in the right direction. I'm back with Commando number 2 now, trying to find that elevator, and I have totally lost this guy compared to where all the others are. So I'm just going to instead demonstrate what happens when you run out of energy from coming into contact with bad things. So there you can see the bad things died, and actually I'm still okay, surprisingly, because I was kind of expecting him. My mobility's 1, my power's 1, my medical's 1, and everything else has gone completely. So this guy's bordering on useless, although he does actually still seem to be walking around okay. surprisingly. This will kill him off, surely. No, he's still walking around okay. Not really sure what's going on there. I must admit, I've pretty much had enough of the game now. I do think back in 1986 or whenever it came out, I would have really quite enjoyed this game. I do like a bit of exploration, and because there's a combination of exploration, a bit of strategy, the idea that you've got a squad of commandos that do different sort of tasks, it's actually quite a decent little game. And probably back in that time when I didn't get an almost exhaustive amount of games to play through, I would have quite got my $2.99's money's worth out of this. But I don't think there's much more I'm going to be able to show unless I continue on a little bit longer with some of the other commandos. So this is probably the end of the review. I will say right now it's not very interesting, but back in the day I think it would have been quite cool.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
2, 1, 0.